Welcome to the Bond University Esports Hub. My name's Lisa and I'm from Bond.
My name's Brendan, I'm from the Chiefs Esports Club, and we're back for another episode with Lachlan, aka LBP, head coach of Chiefs Rocket League. This one's going to be more focused on mental health opposed to physical health this time.
Awesome, fantastic.
So Lachlan, some questions that have come in from our audience. Probably number one is, what is something I can do outside of the game to help me maintain my focus in game for a long period of time?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Great question, by the way. I think one of the biggest things that I've helped with players in the past is being able to, take the game and put it aside and look at it from, a holistic level in terms of incorporating some meditation. I've used meditation with quite a few players and they've found it quite effective in terms of being able to, set it aside and sort of focus on myself and focus on myself as a whole and being able to sort of break down, did I do everything I could have done? If it was a specific tournament, is there anything I could do different for next time? But also taking that time to sort of have that reflection, I think is really important. And I think meditation helps to sort of guide that process into it as well.
Another question that we've received is, what can esports players do to combat tilt?
Yes, tilt, a big one in the gaming community, especially for esports players. I think that it's tricky because naturally as professional players, we hold ourselves to a high caliber, especially if we're not performing to the level that we know we can most often. So I think for tilt, it's definitely a tricky one, but I think being able to, sort of what I said previously, being able to step away for a couple of minutes and sort of reflect on, did I have everything in my control? Could I have done something differently? And if so, what could I have done differently? Tilt mostly comes, depending on the game, but it can come from external perspectives in terms of your teammates could be flaming or trolling you. They could be doing something that's disrupting your own performance. And realistically, at the end of the day, we can't really control that. Sure, we could type to them or say something to them differently to get them to change their behaviour, but I think the biggest thing is just making sure we're focusing on our own behaviour and what we can do for ourselves. I think is the most important thing.
What do you think that the esports industry as a whole can do to support player well-being more than we are at the moment?
I think it's a tricky question. I think that speaking to players in the past, they haven't really had much support in terms of talking to someone if they're feeling stressed, talking to someone if they're feeling anxious, or if there is conflict within the team, how do they resolve that? How do they break that down? How do they fix it? Which I think has always been a question that's always going to probably pertain within OCE as a whole. But I think organisations like the Chiefs, sort of reaching out and getting external help and building, players up to their maximum potential by using external allied health practitioners to help them along their journey, I think is probably the starting steps in terms of what we can do for players, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Reaching out for the help and support that you need.
Yeah.
Another question that has come through is in relation to burnout. So we hear that term actually describes slumps in performance. Can you describe that term for us?
Yeah, almost like you described there, sort of like a slump in your own performance. I've definitely experienced burnout with a few players myself, and it's almost like that level of they're not thinking straight, they're not really making the correct decisions, they're not sort of being a team, they're not being a teammate as well. And it's quite hard to combat that. But I think the most important thing is, initially recognizing it, recognizing, hey, what I'm doing right now isn't to the degree that I know I'm capable of doing. So being able to sort of recognize that, I think, is the most important first step. Secondly, I think what will probably come next is being able to, take that time away to sort of reflect on it again. A lot of reflection used today, I think, is a key for esports players to reflect. But also, sort of being able to have someone to talk to, I think, is important as well. If you're in a team, it's most commonly that your teammates have also had burnout as well. So being able to recognise that and see how they've dealt with it as well. But also, that process of talking about it is also quite meditative within itself and can help cure that burnout as well.
So Lachlan, international tournaments can be quite daunting, especially if you're a new team that's recently qualified. What can new teams getting to that next level do to sort of prepare themselves to compete on that international stage?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a big one as well. I think it's quite daunting, but also you have to remember it's exciting. Getting to the international stage, getting to compete with some of the best around the world. It's almost like an opportunity that only a few at a time get, depending on the game. So I think you really have to cherish that opportunity. I'd really recognise that there's going to be mistakes. The players are going to make mistakes, the coaches are going to make mistakes, there could be mistakes coming from any direction, but it's important to embrace that. I think it's important to almost have a bit of a plan going into an international LAN, whether that be setting yourself up from a player perspective in terms of, okay, I'm going over there, is going to be a time difference, do I have to combat jet lag? Is that one big thing that I have to recognise? Can I get the right nutrition that I need over there as well? What's going to be set up for me? How can I guess, best control the things that aren't in my control in that regard. But I think, yeah, the most important thing is to recognise that, hey, not many people get to do this, not many people get to have this opportunity. So I'm just going to embrace it, and whatever happens, happens at the end of the day. I'm going to put in everything I can into this event. I'm going to try my best and have respect for my team as well, because they've put in the hours, they've put in the time to get there as well. So I think it's important to have that respect for each other, but also to, be excited and have some fun as well.
And I guess finally, to finish up, Lachlan, what would be your top 3 tips based on your experience that you would give to gamers in relation to health and wellbeing?
Okay, so I think the first one would be to embrace the aspect of what the potential can be in terms of health and wellbeing. I've dealt with both ends of the spectrum in terms of players who have done not much at all but achieved a lot. I've worked with players who have addressing sleep, addressing exercise, addressing all those external performance pillars and have achieved even more. So sort of recognising that there is a ceiling in terms of what you're capable of doing, and looking towards external performance factors can help raise that ceiling, I think is a pretty important thing to really understand and address. Number 2, I think cater towards your environment, I think is a big one, where, we have most of our careers as whether it be a gamer or whether it be a professional coach at home. So making sure your environment's set up for success, I think is a big one in terms of ergonomics, probably what that pertains down to. Similar to what we talked about previously, making sure that you're combating all those things in place in terms of proper ergonomics, proper desk, proper chair, making sure everything's sort of set up for success to ensure that long term there's no ill things that sort of pop up in terms of injury or anything like that. And the last one is to, I guess, always have fun with it. We're gamers by nature, we're gamers at heart. So I think being able to be open towards whatever it is from a team perspective is the most important thing, and being able to enjoy it, being able to enjoy the journey, recognise that it is a pretty unique area. So enjoy it. We are playing games at the end of the day, so enjoy that as well, and just enjoy the journey for sure.
Excellent. Lachlan, thank you so much for your valuable insights today.
Yep.
Greatly appreciate it.
For sure.
Thank you.
More than happy to share them. Thank you.